This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News, some NDSU students are dancing to stay warm as they're freezing for a reason.
A high schooler's xylophone skills are hitting all the right notes at a university's concert hall.
3 MSUM football players dive into the cold instead of the end zone to score donations.
But first, Concordia students react to a tuition increase following millions in a budget shortfall.
Thank you for joining us and welcome to Campus News. I'm Jordan Schreier.
And I'm Ariana Babcock. A college in Moorhead is battling low enrollment that could cause a number of faculty cuts. Reporter Sarah Erickson tells us how some students at Concordia College are concerned about the future of their school.
The information in this report has been verified by the Fargo Forum. We did reach out to Concordia College for both data and interviews from campus administrators concerning the budget issues, but our requests were denied.
In a Fargo Forum article, Concordia President William Kraft says, there will be some reduction in the number of faculty and staff. This reduction is due to a $5.6 million budget shortfall that will also result in tuition increases. Currently, students are paying nearly $34,000 a year in tuition. Next year, it will increase to just over $35,000.
Concordia is the top of the price line for so many people. So I think that's hard to know that you're coming to the school and you thought you were able to afford it, and now you're 2-3 years in and suddenly you can't afford it anymore.
The $5.6 million shortfall comes from $1.8 million in new programs, pay raises, and a $3.8 million deficit.
We've always known that there were going to be things like this happening, but I think this is the first year where it's pretty drastic.
In the fall of 1998, enrollment at Concordia peaked at 2,981 students. This fall, it fell to 2,398. That decline is contributing to the tuition increase.
Well, we see where they're trying to make up this lost revenue, but it's also hard on us where we've already been here and now they're just like, yeah, you're going to have to pay more if you want to keep going here. And
Bruns also says she is frustrated with the lack of communication about the university budget problems.
I really wish that Concordia would understand that what we're dealing with right now is not a secret. People know that tuition is going up, people know that faculty members are getting cut, and yet we keep dancing around the subject like it's not there. And I think Concordia students especially, and I bet faculty members as well, would really appreciate transparency in these matters and not feeling like they have to struggle to get answers from their own institution.
Departments are now being asked to identify 12% of their budgets that could be cut if necessary. Open positions may also go unfilled. Sarah Erickson, Campus News.
Concordia needs to come up with a plan for the budget cuts before the new fiscal year starts in May. The success of a university's curriculum is often proven by the success of its students.
Haley Warnicki reports how a recent article about North Dakota State College of Science's 100% job placement leaves some wondering how schools calculate their placement rates.
Job placement has been more on the spotlight with a recent article written by the Forum on NDSCS's job placement.
What I can tell you is our overall placement rate is 98% for our students at NDSCS for 2013-2014.
The information required for job placement rates is received from students who attend college.
NDSCS's job placement rate is based on students' self-report data. So we work with our students to find out where they are once they graduate from NDSCS.
When determining job placement rates, students are asked if the placement was temporary, seasonal, or a permanent position, and if their placement is in a position related to their major.
It's very important. It shows whether or not the curriculum that we're using in the classroom really meets the demands of those that are employing our graduates. So I really think that it aligns with the employers that are seeking our graduates.
The assistant director at the Career Development Center says Minnesota State University Moorhead's job placement rate is 97%.
And what we do is we contact them, see if they're working full-time, seeing if they're going to school full-time, or if they're still searching for employment. And then depending on if it's related to their major, which the student determines if they believe their full-time job is related to their major or not, it will calculate the score based on how many graduates versus how many are placed.
Job placement rate determines if a school is providing their students with the right information and skills for their field.
whether that be right from high school or maybe coming from the job place, because you want to choose an institution that has built that relationship with business and industry and that those graduates are in high demand to make sure that you're going to have a great job and a great career after you leave that institution.
NDSCS says knowing the job placement rate may help students with their decision. With photographer Louis Johnson, Haley Warnicki, Campus News.
Before graduation, NDSCS officials say students fill out a survey confirming their employment status.
A new director of public safety has been appointed at Minnesota State University Moorhead. Christopher Nelson became the new public safety director this January. He previously worked as an assistant fire chief in East Bethel, Minnesota, fire captain at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, and an emergency manager in the Fairview Hospital System. Being his first job on a college campus, Nelson looks forward to working with the students.
So it's important to work with them and get that feedback. If we're doing a good job, I want to know it. And if we're not doing a good job, I want to know that even more.
Nelson says he will use his experience in emergency response to ensure students' safety. A group of visionary college students are coming together to present their new inventive ideas.
NDSU recently held its 6th annual Innovative Challenge, and reporter Haley Foster has more. Haley?
Thanks, Ariana and Jordan. The North Dakota State University Innovation Challenge has great minds trying to do great things. I met with one student whose creative project had his wheels turning.
Micah Johnson is a sophomore at NDSU, and in his free time, the 19-year-old engineering major loves to build.
Constantly building stuff just for the fun of it.
After a professor talked him into doing the Innovation Challenge, Micah soon realized that inspiration wasn't hard to find.
One night I just thought about it when I was laying in my bed, and I just came up with this idea just to make it a 3-in-1 wheelchair that can just cover everything.
After that, all the pieces started falling together.
I actually built the tracks one night, and then I was going to do the rest over Christmas break. And then I kind of ran out of time, so I came back the Monday and finished it all in one day.
And Micah's 3-in-1 track wheelchair prototype was born, replacing the usual 3 chairs many people need to get through the day. Whether it's going upstairs, trekking through the snow, or roaming around the classroom, this one does it all.
I got the idea of tracks because they have track wheelchairs out there now, but like the thing is with them, you can't get them into a building.
According to Disabled World, 3.3 million Americans use wheelchairs on a daily basis, and Micah is one of them. He was born with muscular dystrophy, a disease that causes your muscles to get weaker over time.
The motivation behind it was just to make me more independent, or just make other people more independent that use wheelchairs.
A new independence he hopes to make a reality by the end of the summer.
It's a goal to set, I guess. And then I'm hoping to just start using it, letting people just see what it does.
Are you shooting for speed too?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, this thing goes too slow. 4.9 miles an hour, it's not enough. You need to, I want to at least go like 8 or 10.
A self-sufficient wheelchair that Micah is confident will have him and others cruising through life in the fast lane.
Micah says his long-term goal for the project is to one day open his own business and make a living selling his wheelchairs.
Thanks, Haley. The practical nursing program at M State is undergoing some changes. This means a degree in less than a year for some students. Beginning fall 2015, a 40-credit, 2-semester practical nursing diploma will be offered at all 4 of M State's campuses. With 20 credits cut for an individual student, M State's Director of Nursing, Tracy Morstad, says it's a drastic but well-needed move.
So we made some pretty deep cuts and some painful things to do, but that's where we got to this point.
The changes will get M State accredited by 2018. They say it will produce higher numbers in the local workforce. M State is trying to make the shift as quick as possible. Morstad says students will see the benefits once they realize the cuts won't change their certification. The changes are expected to affect 200 to 300 nursing students each year. A recent outbreak of measles that started in Disneyland has now spread to 17 different states, including a student at the University of Minnesota.
Sarah Erickson visited with some doctors to see how important vaccinations can be on and off campus to prevent further spread of the disease.
While some students may be worried about catching the cold or flu, they now may have to think more closely about being vaccinated for measles. The measles is a highly contagious respiratory virus that is spread through human-to-human contact by someone who is infected with it.
And the issue with the contagiousness is it is the person, whether they breathe or sneeze or cough, then the virus is in the air.
Measles symptoms are similar to the common cold, coughing, runny nose, and itchy eyes, along with developing a rash.
The person actually is contagious 4 days before a rash appears and then 4 days after it resolves.
Studies have shown that vaccine for measles is highly effective, and once you get the vaccine, you are good for a lifetime.
The vaccine is very effective. After 1 dose, it's 93% effective, and after 2 doses, it's 97% effective.
On average, the U.S. has around 60 cases of measles per year, but in 2014 alone, there were over 600 cases recorded. Most colleges and universities require immunization from the virus, and that's why MSUM officials say not to worry.
What's nice is, at least at MSUM, the students are required to have vaccinations, so they would have received the measles vaccine in order to attend MSUM.
Although MSUM may require the vaccinations, it is sparking a nationwide debate whether vaccinations should be mandatory for all children to prevent other outbreaks. With photographer Darby Fike, Sarah Erickson, Campus News.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 140 people nationwide have been infected in 2015. Cockroaches in the classroom?
Tyrell Philly reports at North Dakota State University on how the nasty bugs may hold the key to dealing with even nastier bugs.
Cockroaches give many the creeps.
It's still pretty gross when I really think about it.
But NDSU junior Bridget Eklund is used to them. She spends her days in a lab using the creepy crawlies to learn about dangerous pathogens.
So using some DNA technology and RNA interface to learn more about their immune systems.
Eklund is studying the really infectious diseases that might be used for bioterrorism using, of all creatures, cockroaches.
The really nasty bugs out there. And I'll be presenting the cockroaches to better understand these pathogens.
She feeds the bugs through a pipette and examines how bacteria affect them. Eklund says her use of the pests is unique. Other researchers typically use worms or flies.
No one else in the world is using cockroaches to study bacteria, so it's pretty cool. This is all really innovative stuff that we're being able to do.
The junior's research has brought her national attention. She was invited to speak at a biodefense research meeting in the nation's capital.
And I got a letter back addressed to Dr. Eklund, which was a little surprising.
While she is still researching, Eklund hopes her findings will impact future studies. Just maybe her findings could change how we understand disease. All thanks to a curious student and a lowly roach. With photographer Nikki Nowen, Tyrell Philly, Campus News.
Eklund plans on attending graduate school and earning her PhD in infectious disease. It normally takes 9 hours for research to present their 80,000-word thesis.
Reporter Andy Weston shows us how 25 NDSU students compete to present their thesis in 3 minutes.
Develop drugs, vaccines throughout the world by the engineers to solve those problems.
And the results revealed significant knowledge gaps.
In the end, only one student would walk away with a $1,000 award. Here at the 3-minute thesis competition at NDSU, Allison Peltier put in the work to make sure she was that student. But putting her research into a 3-minute speech was no easy task.
I cannot tell you how many hours I spent narrowing it down to 3 minutes. You work on this for so long and you have all this information, and to narrow it down to 3 minutes is really challenging.
That hard work paid off as Allison won her first round and moved on to the final that would be held later in the afternoon. So what do these students gain from transforming their years-long research into a 180-second soundbite? Dean David Whitrock shared his thoughts.
They have a very limited time frame to convince somebody to fund their research. to sell their product.
In an impoverished community.
Not only does the competition help students to relate the research to the average person, Dean Whitrock believes it also holds valuable real-life career experience.
Module for healthcare providers.
Allison showed that she possessed the skill to communicate in just such a fashion when she was announced as the first winner of the NDSU 3-minute thesis competition.
This experience is just, I'll remember this day for a long time, probably forever.
After the effort put into her presentation, Allison is looking to continue with her career in the medical field. Andy Weston, Campus News.
This was NDSU's first 3-minute thesis competition.
After getting the chance to sing with country singer Keith Urban, NDSU alum Zach Johnson ended his time on American Idol. His journey began last October auditioning with more than 200 Idol hopefuls in Minneapolis, where Johnson and 47 others advanced. On his way to the West Coast, he performed with Keith Urban at a concert in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Johnson made it through the first couple days of Hollywood Week, but was eliminated from the show after singing in a group with 3 other competitors. 2 Greek chapters at NDSU are continuing an old and cold tradition.
Reporter Josie Jerezik shows us how standing in the cold can have its rewards.
It was cold and windy the week Greek chapters of NDSU were stationed at the corner of University Drive in Fargo, but that doesn't mean they weren't finding ways to warm up.
Right now I'm wearing 5 layers. I know, I think my night shift was only wearing 7, so.
He's racked up more than 30 hours outside throughout the week, and he's not alone. Woody says 107 students are involved in the Freeze-a-thon fundraiser, and they have good reason. They're collecting donations for the Nokomis Child Care Center, which provides for families dealing with financial strain.
It's also a really good feeling to have, because we all know that we're all working together for the same goal, which is essentially to give back to the Fargo-Moorhead community. And it's really sweet to see the community give back as well. So really we're helping the community, but it's really community helping community, which is what Greek life is all about.
The Freeze-a-thon has returned for more than 20 years. Huseman said it's no surprise provided the support they receive. Last year alone they raised almost $10,000, and this year he said they were on track to break that record.
Every year we get amazing support. Just to have a bunch of college kids stand out in the cold, you wouldn't really think people would really notice, but it's gotten a lot of impact just from people from the community, and it's always been great to see them coming out to support us.
He says it's tough, but well worth it.
You know, I'm feeling really cold, obviously, which comes with being in Freeze-a-thon. It wouldn't be Freeze-a-thon without being cold. But we're all just going to keep going strong, and the community's got our support all the way through it.
Chapter leaders say they're looking forward to freezing again next year. With photographer Alicia Lape, Josie Jerezik, Campus News.
The chapters raised more than $11,000 for the Nokomis Child Care Center. And now we turn it over to Shaylee Meyer for a look at this week's sports.
Shaylee, I was at the polar plunge and freezing, just sitting there. I cannot imagine jumping into the waters like those football players were doing.
I know, it's crazy what students and athletes will do to raise some money for a good cause. While most of us would prefer to stay warm during the freezing winter months, some recently decided to brave the icy temps. 3 MSUM football players tackled the cold for a good cause.
The icicles made it obvious winter was in the air, but that didn't stop some people from taking a freezing cold dip. The creative care for reaching independence polar plunge took place on the Dakota Medical Foundation's Giving Hearts Day. Wide receiver Adam Chiskra, running back Zane Medhog, and lineman Steve Schutz made up the 3-man team representing Dragon football. After the plunge, the trio quickly found their way to the hot tub, and things steamed up as they reflected on their icy retreat.
I didn't really prepare myself for it, but once we got up there, everyone was cheering, so you had to do it.
CCRI Executive Director Shannon Bach says the plunge isn't just about the money, it's about the community getting involved and giving back.
We have the MSUM football players out here to be able to help support, and we had radio DJs out here to support. We have folks from other colleges as well, and it just shows how much in the community that we mean to people.
The group took time to grab some treats.
Cookies are frozen together.
And cheer on their fellow plungers. By supporting CCRI and taking the plunge, the men had an opportunity to do something bigger than football.
I think it's good for the football team, show that we're not just about football, we're in it for the community, for Moorhead, and for a great organization like CCRI.
The men say no matter how cold, it's easy to give back, especially with the spirit of a dragon. Tommy Thompson with Ariana Babcock, Campus News.
CCRI's goal was to raise $20,000 from the plunge. They are already exceeding their goals by reaching $55,000 and counting. The MSUM Athletic Department hosted Go Pink Night at Nemzik Fieldhouse on February 13th. The theme of the night was Sport Your Stash and brought awareness to breast and testicular cancers. Photos were shared across social media of people dressed in Go Pink attire and sporting mustaches of their own. A silent auction was also held at the game. Go Pink organizer Gloria Riopel believes many can relate to the event.
There's so many of us that have been impacted by cancer, so I think this event just speaks to so many of us as far as raising awareness, fundraising money for a good cause, and coming together for a purpose and making a difference.
This is the 8th annual MSUM Go Pink event. The Go Pink Fund has awarded 6 scholarships to 2 students impacted by cancer over the past 3 years. An NDSU athlete is being recognized for his success both on the court and in the classroom. Chris Kading has been voted onto the Capital One All-District men's basketball team. Athletes are voted to the team by the College Sports Information Directors of America. To be eligible, the student athlete must be a key player in the sport, maintain a cumulative GPA of 3.3, and be at least a sophomore. The NDSU junior meets all the criteria with a 3.8 GPA, majoring in exercise science, and is a forward for the Bison. The University of Minnesota and NDSU renewed their rivalry on the mat for the NWCA National Duels Regional. The number 4 ranked Gophers got the best of the Bison, handing them a 26-9 loss in front of a packed Benson Bunker Fieldhouse. North Dakota native and West Fargo alum Scott Schiller returned as a Gopher, winning the opening match by major decision. Minnesota took the next 5 matches against number 23 ranked NDSU on their way to the win. The Bison continue their season against South Dakota State, while the Gophers advanced in the NWCA National Duel Championships. For some athletes, winning is everything, but for one MSUM football player, it's not the only focus. Reporter Tommy Thompson caught up with Aaron Bohl this past football season to find out what truly drives him.
When looking for leadership on the field, the MSUM Dragon football team turns to co-captain Aaron Bohl. On Tuesday nights, student athletes turn to Bohl for a different kind of guidance. Bohl is one of the leaders of Athletes in Action, an organization that allows student athletes to take a break from school and sports during the week and discuss their Christian beliefs.
It's also nice to know other athletes who believe the same thing you do, and you're not just on an island by yourself in this world.
In high school, Bohl participated in Fellowship of Christian Athletes. When arriving to college at MSUM, there weren't any spiritual groups for athletes.
The first semester here, we didn't have really anything like that, and we didn't have any Bible study or anything like that, and so I was kind of bummed about it. And so I went home over winter break and prayed about it. I prayed an opportunity to happen.
On Bohl's second day back to school after winter break, he was approached by his teammate, Logan Romines.
He comes up to me and says, "Hey, you know what? I'm trying to start something up here called Athletes in Action. There's just going to be a Bible study for athletes. Do you want to help me? Do you want to be a part of it?" And I jumped on it right away.
Bohl says his faith allows him to have a different approach to life and sports.
I don't have too much talent, but God gave me this opportunity to use my sport to glorify Him and bring people to Him, and that, always be joyful, always be cheering, always be encouraging people, because that's what God calls us to do.
His teammates agree that Bohl's trustworthy and generous personality is why people are drawn to him as a leader.
He always puts others first, always puts teammates or friends in front of his own needs. You can oftentimes see him discipling other people and helping other people to fulfill their true potential.
For Bohl, Athletes in Action brings his passions of sports and his faith together. Tommy Thompson, Campus News.
The name Bohl may be familiar to you. Aaron's father is former NDSU head coach Craig Bohl, who led the Bison to 3 straight national titles.
Shaylee, it's nice to see athletes who took the initiative when they wanted to see something happen and make it happen.
I know, and it's great to see athletes involved off the field as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shaylee.
Xylophone player Christina Erb is taking her career to a whole new level.
After winning Young Musicians Competition, this Castleton, North Dakota high school junior is on the brink of achieving success she never expected.
As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. But for this xylophone player, practice simply isn't enough. Christina Erb, only a junior at Castleton High School, but has already managed to become a very skilled xylophonist because of hard work and determination.
I started the bells kit, which is a really small version of a xylophone, and then in 6th grade I started the xylophone. I couldn't make a sound out of a flute or buzz or anything, and so I decided to play this since I liked it. I don't know why I enjoyed it though, maybe just because it's annoying, because the snare drum and the xylophone, they're all really loud.
Christina Erb has recently received recognition for her xylophone playing after making it to the final round of the Young Musicians Competition, where she won and was asked to perform with the Fargo-Moorhead Symphony.
I mean, we only ran through it like twice, and I'm like, sure, okay, because you have to make sure you're really on with like a metronome, because they're on and you'll be off if you're not. So I handled it all right, I think, but I made do, I guess.
After performing a piece from Beethoven by memory, she received a standing ovation.
That was crazy. I didn't know what to do, so I was walking away, and then Linda Boyd like pushed me back out.
First time she had been accompanied by a symphony outside of her high school. Christina hopes to double major in music and optometry. With photographer Jared Schumacher and Betsy Harmson. Campus News.
Christina says music will continue to be a big part of her life and looks forward to attending college. And that's it for this edition of Campus News.
We leave you with a look of Christina Erb's xylophone performance.
Thanks for joining us and have a great week.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the School of Communication and Journalism at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.